Morning, everybody. My name is Jared O'Leary. I've been drumming since 1998, and I still got plenty of stuff to work on today. I'm going to be slowing down Flam 5 grid all the way down to 40 beats a minute. I'm going to go up one click at a time and refine it and get better at it. But before I do that, I'm going to answer a couple questions. And before I do that, I'm going to talk for a moment. So all these practice streams, think of it like office hours. I'm here to continue to improve, try and refine my playing after drumming for almost 30 years, and answer potential questions in the chat. In all of these 500 plus live streams, there are timestamps in the description that shows what I was talking about or what I was practicing. And I will often edit those answers and put them into this drumming tips playlist. It currently has just under 20 hours of free drumming tips inside of here on a range of different questions. So, for example, the title is whatever I talk about in the beginning, like should you practice rudiments on drum kit? And then if it says and other drumming tips or and other teaching tips, that means there are more topics in there that might be of more interest. Why, hello to you, person. Now, there are over 100 videos inside of here, so there's a lot of different topics on a variety of different things, so you can check that out if you are interested in it. Now, if you are interested in any of the play-alongs that I'm going to demonstrate, you can actually go to the Home tab, and there's all these different sections. All you have to do is just click on the header, and then it expands and shows you all the content, whether it's like the tips and lessons, the technique, the grid, whatever. So just click, and then it shows you all the different playlists inside of here. For example, the technique playlists have just under 500 videos inside of here for different things to work on, like work on your timing, or work on your rolls, or work on your flams, or your accent taps, etc., etc. So go to the Home tab, and that can help you out. Now, I want to get motivated here with Shia LaBeouf. So Shia LaBeouf is going to help me to get ready to drum. We're going to hide him for a moment, and we're going to practice this great ritual. Do it! Just do it! Don't let your dreams be dreams. Yesterday, you said tomorrow, so just do it. Make your dreams come true. Just do it. Some people dream success. Well, you're going to wake up and work hard at it. Nothing is impossible. You should get to the point where anyone else would quit, and you're not going to stop there. No, what are you waiting for? Do it. Just do it. Yes, you can. Just do it. I don't know what he's holding. Life. If you're tired of starting over, stop giving up. Yeah, everybody's super motivated. Thanks, Shia. I appreciate you. Asian 47. Shh, don't tell anyone. I'm in disguise. Now, all of the play-alongs that I'm going to be demonstrating are found either on my home tab of YouTube or at the link that's at the top of the screen. So it's jaredoleary.com/drum. On my website, it's organized neater than I can on YouTube, but it's all the same play-alongs. There's currently a bunch of chop exercises. There's over 1,000 grid variations. I'll be practicing one of these here in a moment. There's also limb-independent stuff that I was practicing yesterday. There's over 500 bass drum exercises. There's some cadences and score format. There's sight reading exercises, almost 500 technique exercises, over 19 hours of me responding to Q&A live on these streams inside of this particular playlist, and then the rest of these are like scripted lessons on a specific topic, like how to speed up any rudiment, or how to hold traditional grip, or why tenor drummers are always tuning the drum heads, etc., etc. So all the same content on my website, as you can find on YouTube. But as you can see on YouTube, you can't really organize it as neatly as I can on my website. You have to like click on the header to actually show all of the different play-alongs that are in here. Now, the one that I'm going to play today and refine is the Flam 5 on 1 grid. And I'm going to warm up with it, stretch and massage, and then I'm going to slow it all the way down to 40 and refine this slowly, going up one click at a time. But before we do that, I've got a couple of questions that I got from some people. On some comments that I want to be able to respond to. So let me see here. Okay, let me pull it up so I can actually see it. Okay, so the first question that I got is, this person is going into 9th grade, and they can't decide between whether they want to march for snare or march on tenors. And to them, they think that snare feels a little bit too easy, whereas tenors, it's difficult for them to be able to read the music, so they're having struggles with that. So when it comes to learning any kind of instrument, think long-term with what kind of instrument you want to practice. So, for example, if you want to perform in that instrument in college or DCI or WGI groups, which kind of section would you like to perform with? If you are in a high school that is top-notch high school, you might have a really complicated snare book. But if you're in a high school that doesn't have a top-notch drumline, you might have a snare book that is rather boring. So don't just look at what your current book is for like the snare drum. Look at what it might be in the future if you decide to do like college, DCI, WGI, etc., and determine long-term with that kind of information what you want to do. Not just like, oh, I'm playing like simple boom, chick on snare. Well, you wouldn't do that in DCI or WGI or college lines. Well, most college lines. But with the tenor side of the thing, don't let your current deficiencies define your future. So if you are having issues with reading music and you can't figure out how to do that, that is just right now. But like 6 months from now, a year from now, 4 years from now, this is going to be a whole nother story. It's an investment of time. So the skills that you had developed as a percussionist up to this point is because you've practiced it. Same thing can apply to what you want to be able to do in the future. So if you want to be good at reading tenor music, you just have to practice it. So give it time and don't let your current deficiencies hold back what you want to be able to do in the future. Just know that anything you want to get better at, whether it's like drum kit or marimba or reading music or whatever, is something that you can refine, that you can practice. My home tab of YouTube has hundreds of videos that talk about like different ways to practice specific things like sight reading or whatever. So check out some of the drumming tips sections and videos inside of there. Tips and lessons towards the bottom of the home tab. Let me look at my notes here. Oh, yeah. So another thing when it comes to like the reading side of things is you're going to spend more time playing than you are going to be like sight reading or even just like reviewing or reading the music. So focus on the playing side of things when making your decision of like, do I want to do snare or do I want to do tenors? Don't worry about what the music looks like. Worry about like how it feels when you play it and like whether or not you enjoy like maybe playing traditional grip, match grip, or doing crossovers or whatever. Like what excites you about those different instruments that you would want to do every single day when you're practicing it, etc. In general, snare is much harder to clean. So the snare lines are larger and the drums are much more articulate. So when you're playing on a snare drum, you can't get away with the dirt that you can on more resonant drums like tenor drums and bass drums, etc. So it's not that like tenor drummers are bad drummers. I'm not trying to say that at all, but it's just harder to clean on a more articulated surface with a shorter resonance than on one that has more resonance. So for example, on the tenor drums, these drums are going to ring much more than on a snare drum, usually speaking. So it's harder to clean a snare line than it is tenors. So if you are more of a perfectionist and you like trying to really refine the nitty-gritty of every single little detail, snare drum might be more interest than you. Than tenor drums. But if you are interested in like moving around the drums, you want to be able to do crossovers or maybe play around behind your back, whatever, then tenor drums might be more of an interest to you. But again, it is a little bit easier to get away with some dirt on tenors because the drums are more resonant. So it's not a huge difference once you get to the highest absolute levels of like DCI, WGI, but it is still a noticeable difference between like snares and tenors in terms of like the amount of dirt that you can get away with. So think about like what do you want to practice for years in terms of what you want to focus on. So for me, I really like refining rhythms and really like refining technique. And so I enjoy that more than I enjoy moving around on the drums. So even though I like tenors, like I really enjoy them, I marched snare because I enjoyed the perfectionism that was involved with like marching with just one drum. But it is a lot of fun to play with multiple different drums. So again, think long-term what you want to do with what you're doing. Just know that whatever you pick though, like this is not something that is a permanent decision. So you can march like snare drum for 1 year and then be like, I want to march tenors for another year. That's totally okay. Like I did 2 years of front ensemble and then I did 2 years of snare and then I did snare in college and snare in DCI. So like it's not like I was limited just because of my first 2 years were doing front ensemble. If anything, it made me a better educator and it set me up to get like the full ride and percussion performance that I got because I learned more than just one instrument. I learned all the different percussion instruments because I wanted to be able to get a scholarship in music. So don't just focus on one instrument. Trying to think long-term what you want to do. If you want to become like an instructor, you're going to need to learn more than just like the snare drum, unless you only want to do snare teching for the rest of your life. So you don't have to march with those instruments. Like I've never marched tenor drums, but can I teach tenor drums? Yeah. Am I as good of a tenor drummer as people who march tenors? No. But can I teach it? Yeah. I mean, all the band directors you've ever seen or ever worked with, they are not at the professional level on every single instrument. That's just part of being a music educator. Is you might be at the professional level at one instrument or maybe a handful of instruments, but you're not going to be at the professional level at every single one of them. But you do know how to teach them and be able to help people to get better at it. So if you want to be a performer, maybe you'll focus on one of the instruments, but again, you can jump around as a percussionist in particular. You can switch instruments all the time. But if you want to be an educator, learn all of them. So I know that's kind of like a really long term, like you're thinking of ninth grade, and I'm here thinking like, well, 10 years from now, what do you want to do? But hopefully that helps you to think of some different frameworks for like what you actually want to do. And again, don't let your current deficiencies define who you want to become in the future as a performer, as an educator, percussionist, whatever. Okay. So hopefully that helps out. I got another question that was from somebody else. Let me do that. Okay, so somebody was asking, how do you do sticks in with traditional grip specifically to get the click? So let me switch to this angle so you can see it a little bit better. So if you want to be able to like work on your sticks in to make it so that when you're doing traditional grip, you get a nice like clicking sound when you pull it in, you actually want to start with your sticks in and define this before you actually worry about like putting your sticks out and then pulling them back in. So what we want is to not have our sticks so that the bead and the butt don't line up. You want to actually line it up so that the bead and the butt line up on both sides. And that when you're holding this, it's just like you're playing with your whatever grip that you're going to use, except it's just thicker. So now you have a larger stick. So it's basically your thumb that is going to move to hold on to the stick right here, depending on how you're doing this. With the left hand, it's the exact same thing in terms of what you do with your left hand, but again, it's just thicker. So you're not going to change your technique to play in like a different way like this, and then all of a sudden, when you have a single stick in your hand, you switch to something else. Don't do that. Okay, so start with your normal technique. Just think of it as extra large stick or extra large stick, and you're holding it like this. The way that you hold your sticks is you want to have them so that they are parallel with your body, but you also want them to have them to be parallel with the drum. So if you have a flat drum, your sticks are also going to be flat. If your drums are at a tilt, your tilt is going to match with whatever your snare drum is tilted as. So you don't want to have it so that your like snare drum is here, but then you're tilting like this, or like you're tilting like this. Like, no. Try and match it so that it is perfectly with it. Now, in terms of how high your stick should be, it depends on the group that you're performing in. Some people like to have it so you're about at like a finger distance. So you can just like poke your finger to right there, and that is the height that you go for. This drum is too low, by the way, for a snare drum. And then other people like to have it so that it's like actually resting on the drum just lightly, but again, keeping it parallel. You don't want to have it at an angle while you're resting on a flat drum. Okay, so keep it parallel. How high it goes is up to you. In terms of how high this drum should be, if I was doing traditional, it would actually be right here. So this is way too low for me, but I have it set up for playing match grip for a nice, low, relaxed match. So don't let this height fool you. This is not for snare drum, just FYI. Okay, let me check my notes real quick. Once you have a very solid like stick in terms of how you're holding it, what you then want to do is actually move straight out into your sticks being out. So all you're going to do is take this finger off your thumb on your right hand and move these fingers out of the way so that way you can go out to here, okay? So when you pull out, you're going to have a straight line that you're trying to draw with this. So you're not going to like do an arcing motion like this. Instead, you're going to go straight in and straight out whenever you're doing this, okay? So this is the goal, is to keep it so that it's going just in one solid plane across like that, okay? When you're doing this and you're going from your stick in into a stick out, notice what fingers are moving. Your thumb is moving, and these two fingers are moving to create space, so that way you do not hold on to the sticks. The opposite is true when doing a stick in. So instead of going out this direction, all you're doing is starting from here and moving it in by getting these fingers out of the way and getting this thumb out of the way. When you do the stick in, to get that click sound, you need the sticks to hit parallel at the same time at all points to be able to get like this, as opposed to like this, okay? So don't turn it into Pac-Man. Instead, Have it click like that. That is the goal when doing the stick in. So if you are starting with your sticks out and you're moving it in, you're moving in a straight line, get your fingers out of the way and click. So it's bead to butt, and the sticks hit at the same time across the entire shaft, the stick. And again, bead to butt right here. And all you do is just move your fingers out of the way to be able to do that. So when you're practicing this, start with sticks in, go slowly to out, moving just these two fingers and your thumb, and then to go in, you do the opposite of that, okay? So it's just the same motion, the opposite direction, and go slow. A lot of students, when they first start, they'll end up hitting their fingers because they try and get this like really aggressive, like stick in like that. And what you're going to end up doing is you're going to miss time with how your fingers move, and you're going to whack yourself like this, and that's going to hurt. So don't do that. Take it slow. Do this for many reps until it starts to feel comfortable slow, and then you'll be able to eventually get like a faster stick in. Again, when doing it though, do not have this like arcing motion, etc. You don't want to arc, and you don't want to hit your fingers when you're moving in. Pro tips. Cool. Good questions. Now what I'm going to do, now that I answered those questions that were in the comments on YouTube, I'm going to actually drum. So let me move this out of the way. Okay, so the one that I'm going to warm up with is Flam 5 on 1 triplet grid. And in the timestamps of all these thousands of free play-alongs that are on my YouTube channel's home tab, you can click whatever BPM you want to start at. So I'm just warming up my hands, so I'm just going to do it like 130, play it for 5 reps, and then call it there. Stretch and massage, and then I'm going to start at 40 and just go up 1 click at a time. So this is just getting the hands flowing. Don't need to play super fast to get warmed up. Arms are sore from my workout this morning. All right, last rep. No stretch and massage. Alrighty, first stretch that I'm going to do stretches the sides of the forearms. So you take your sticks, you hold them in your palms facing up, you pull in, you push through. It feels weird, but it's a great stretch for the side of the forearms. Hold it here for as long as you need to, 20 to 30 seconds or so. And to get out of it, you just go back out the way that you came. The next one, if you do traditional grip, since we were talking about that earlier, you could do a rotary motion where you hold at one end of the extreme and then hold it at the other end of the extreme to work on that rotary stretch. But since I don't march that anymore, I'm not going to worry about that. What I'm going to do now instead is stretch the underside of the forearm. So just pulling back like this. You could also do this one on your pad like this. Or if you do this one on the wall, the lower you go, the deeper the stretch. I'll go ahead and do it that way. Heavy. Ooh-wee. Oh, that feels good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch the top side of the forearm. So you could pull it back like this, stretching up there. You could do it on your legs or on your pad like this. Or if you do this one like a zombie, on the wall. The higher you go, the deeper the stretch. Just don't put all your weight into it. I'm going to do it this way. And the final stretch, thumb to thumb. This is relaxing from the larger muscles down to the tips of the fingers. So think of like forearm working your way down. For each one of these, you might spend more time than I am or less time. Your hands are going to feel different than mine. And that's normal. A little ASMR. Enjoy. And now I'm going to do a quick massage routine. So I'm going to do thumb on top, fingers underneath, working my way up and down the forearm. Just trying to relax it. Highly recommend doing this every single time you drum. At least once a day. Go through this whole routine. It only takes a few minutes at most. But it keeps your hands nice and healthy. My forearms feel tight from this morning's workout. So this is helping to relax them, especially from the farmer carry that I was doing. Just like the grip feels like I need to loosen up. So this helps with that. Okay, so the next one I'm going to do is I'm massaging so that my thumb is massaging my hand and my fingers will massage the back side of it. So the thumb is in the palm, fingers are on the back side. Just kind of working my way around my hand. Do. And the last massage is base the tip of each one of the fingers. So you just kind of wiggle your way across the finger at least twice. So start from the base, wiggle down to the tip, just kind of gently massaging along the way. Do. Sweet. Okay. Excuse me. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the same grid that I just warmed up with, but I'm going to refine it. So instead of just playing it to warm up, get the hands going, I'm going to play it slow, like 40 beats a minute slow, and go up one click at a time so I can refine it. Now, what am I working on here? So what I'm actually working on is I'm trying to relax my left hand. So because when I marched traditional grip, my left hand as match grip playing is just not as consistent as my right hand is because it's had way more time playing this way. And the left hand is like, no, we played this way back in the day. So I'm trying to work on that. So my tendency is my left hand flattens out, so it gets more German instead of more American. So the slope downward like this. And there's also a tendency for my left thumb to be too tight. So it puts pressure towards the tip like this, and I don't want that. So I'm specifically focusing on those two things while playing this particular grid. Now, I know those are issues because the 4 days ago when I was working on a Flam 5 grid, I went every 5 clicks, just faster and faster, until I got to a breaking point to see what was not feeling good with my hands when I got to a breaking point. And now that I have that data, I'm going to take it and refine it by going one click at a time. Here we go. Is this slow? Oh yeah! Doesn't matter how long you're playing, it's helpful to refine your technique slow. I've been playing almost 30 years, and I still do this every week. You can too. Cool. All these play-alongs just go up one click. It's so you can refine it, so there's no gaps in your abilities. So you don't want to jump up by too much. By like 10 or 20 clicks, all this stuff you're skipping, all the BPMs you're skipping aren't gonna be as consistent as you'd like. I know from personal experience and from teaching since 2003, students who skip weren't as good as students who went one click at a time. Could go make coffee. Still be back before the top off finishes. So slow. Chat about this for a second. So we're working on Flam 5 on one grid triplet, and you'll notice in here that if we were to play through this 10 times starting at 40 and we went all the way up to 50, it'd take us about 10 minutes or so to get through that. But let's say we were playing this at 120 and we were to play it 10 times, so it's 50 just under 51 minutes up to here. So it's only like 3 or 4 minutes if you're like in these faster tempi, so like 3 times faster than playing it at 40 beats a minute. You might look at it and go, well, it's the same number of reps, so this is the same quality, right? When working on this? Well, no. So you're actually spending significantly more time refining something when you're playing it like for 10 minutes straight for 10 reps, as opposed to playing 10 reps for only like 3 or 4 minutes. So the slower you go, the more time you're actually spending on this. So focus on the quality and the quantity of time rather than the number of reps. So if you are just sitting here and playing something like fast, like you're just repeating this grid at like 160 beats a minute or something, the amount of time that you'd spend on it to go through it like 20 times at that speed, it's going to be significantly less time, 4 times less than if you were to go and play this at 40 and try and go for that same amount of reps. So focus on the quality of your playing when you're trying to refine like your rhythmic accuracy, your technique, etc. And don't just count how many times you're playing through it, but like how long you're actually spending on it. So if you're just like playing something as fast as possible and you get like 20 reps to it, that's not as good as maybe playing 5 quality reps super slow. Okay? So focus on that. Change what you think about when you're practicing stuff. Focus on the refinement rather than just like, I played fast. Yay. Here we go. So my left was still flattening out just a little bit on that. So I'm going to really focus on that for this next couple of reps. Might hear my dog barking. One of them. He's protecting us from bad Flam 5s, I think. Thanks, Hal. Appreciate you. Here we go. 45. Woo! That's funny. Whoops. Thumb came off the stick. Almost lost it. Here we go. Agent 47. Good morning to you. I left a grace note off of one of the Flam 5s. I'm so sorry. I'm going to end the stream right now. Here we go, 48. Tyler, good morning. How did the full rep go over the weekend? You feel like it was a productive weekend? That's awesome. Glad to hear that. I always love those kind of days where I make progress. Whether it's with like practicing or teaching or like creating content or whatever, the days where I feel like I'm like progressing, evolving, like that is like huge for helping me stay relaxed, feel less anxious. Like I need that. Such a big part of my personality. For better and worse. What do you think contributed to feeling like you got a lot done? What could you replicate in the future? One thing I'll add from earlier, by the way. So if you're like, okay, Jared, why would I play this from 40 to 50? I've been drumming for like 10 years. I don't need to go that slow. I can play this at like 170 beats a minute. Cool, me too. And I've been playing for almost 30 years, but I still slow this stuff down. So whether it's my own playing or people that I've taught or people who are better than me who taught me, they all slow it down, and this is a way that you can refine your technique. So don't feel like this is beneath you to start off slow. All these thousands of play-alongs on my home tab of YouTube, they go slow for a reason. It's so that you can refine your technique, and anyone can work on that when they're doing that. But yeah, Tyler, like one of the things that I like to do as an educator is like think through what went well and what could be improved, regardless of if it was like a good rehearsal or a good class that I taught. I'd go through and reflect on that, especially the extremes. If it went really well, why? How could I replicate that in the future? If it didn't go well, like if it was just a bad lesson, well, why? What could I do differently to make it so it wasn't like that? And sometimes it's like, make sure the kids that come into the class didn't eat a bunch of cupcakes before the class. I love you. Your hair looks cute.
Thank you.
I'm jealous. Let's see. Proper targeting and time usage. Ooh, that's good. Good. We're learning this stuff on the Saturday camp. We did all the bass subs on the floor and half the drums on the floor. Sweet. That's awesome. I also got really comfortable with sectional trickiest stuff. Good. Brought it together and then it was seamless. That's awesome. Yeah, that ability, like knowing when to like I don't want to phrase this. Do you have an idea?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah? You just don't want to tell me it's a secret?
Yeah.
Okay.
My idea is that our puppy is too fast and very bad tonight.
Is she running around?
Yes. She got mud all over me.
Sorry. Talking to my wife. I don't know if you could hear her or not. Okay, so when teaching a drumline, or even like a marching band or whatever, it's important to know when to keep everyone together as a group and when it's time to like separate out into different sections or subsections of the ensemble that you're working with. So sometimes it's beneficial to sit there and like rep everybody on it. But if the issue is something that is section or individual like dependent, it is like the snares are having issue with this one thing, not like everybody's having issues with this like rhythm or technique or whatever. It might be better to just like push things off to the side. So if somebody is like new to teaching and you're not sure how to do that, one of the ways that you can like just reflect on it is just ask yourself, like, would everybody benefit from working on this, or just this one section, or just this one person that would benefit from working on it? And if there's a way that you can spread out to isolate it out, so that way, like, the basses can go work on a different thing that they need to work on, the snares need to work on something that they need to work on, the tenors need to work, etc. Like, that can make it easier. And it's easier said than done. Like, when I used to teach elementary band, have everybody in the band room, and they would be like in different sections and different pairs and groupings and whatnot, and I'd like walk around the room, and it sounded like chaos. It was like really hard to do, but we were able to do it within like one giant room while doing this. So it's not that you have to like be completely away from everybody and not hear what everybody else is doing. If anything, that can be, if you frame it correctly, you can treat it as like a challenge. Like, oh, I want to be able to have everybody work on stuff, but there's all this stuff going around, so we really got to focus. And so like that can be like a good way to frame it for students. It's like, okay, you're going to hear a bunch of noise. You're going to hear the snares over there. You're going to hear the tenors over there. Basses, we got to really lock it in. And that can help with like that attention and whatnot. But it is tricky figuring out like when do we stick together as a full group and when do we like save it for later and then worry about sectional stuff. Each context that you are teaching in should be different in terms of like what you focus on, whether it's like the meta, everybody, or like individuals, etc. I love you. Realize that the separating is a lot better for the majority of the new stuff. Yeah, that's a good way to think about it as well. Yeah, when learning like new material, in particular, there's like so many nuances that like each section will need to work through that it's really important to take the time to just like, hey, let's go learn this separately. Like I loved when I was marching snare, when we would learn the music separate from everybody else. Because like, let's say we get to like the tenor solo or something, and the snares are just like sitting there not doing anything while they're repping it for like an extended period of time. It's like, okay, this is a waste of time. Like how many times have I been in a concert ensemble, whether it's like orchestra or band or whatever, where like the director's like sitting there repping something with the woodwinds, and like the percussionists are just back here twiddling our thumbs because we have like a 200 measure rest, etc. So like the more you can just like, hey, we'll focus on large ensemble issues when we're in the large ensemble, and we'll focus on like smaller ensemble or sectional issues when we're in sectionals or subs or whatever. So like think of the context and think about like what everybody else is doing who is not actually rehearsing through stuff. Might be another way of like thinking of it. Like if I'm going to sit here and work with the snare line on something, what can I give to the front ensemble that they can like peck through or practice through or think through, etc. That would give them some kind of an engaging task that they can do to continue to improve, as opposed to just sitting there wasting their time. Pro tip. And Tyler, that's not like for you. That was like just you inspired me to like think of something that could be turned into a clip that could be useful for somebody else. Like I know that you know how to teach, like you know what you're doing. That was likely beneath your current understanding. Just thought it might be helpful for somebody else. So thank you for the inspiration. Friday's a show day. Sweet. Friday and show day is going to be mostly a full ensemble. That's great. Hello to you. I can't read your name. Huddled? Looks like. Text is too small. You just did a snare head change. Can't explain, but it's always satisfying after. Yeah, I like it's interesting how much better drums can sound. Although if you're doing like the two tuning system where you do like 2 days of it, or you tune it, you play on it a while, and then you tune it again, like actually crank it up to the higher one, then it kind of sounds funny in that limbo period. But yeah, no, I hear you. Especially when you tune the guts of a snare and you get everything to sound extra crispy. It is funny how few people actually know you can and should tune those, and like even tape it to modify the amount of resonance. Like non-snare drummers don't always know that. I got a video coming out in like 3 weeks talking about a music educator colleague of mine who didn't even know that you could tune drums. What? Kind of important to know as a band director. And that particular person, they were getting their doctorate in music ed. It's like, you should know better. But I'm sure, like, they know so many things about, like, a woodwind or a brass instrument that I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, the drum heads are so expensive. Especially when you get a bad batch. Then, like, a head just has, like, a bubble in it. Or, like, just pops because it's just not a good batch, which is unfortunate. A lot of regions you can win just by tuning them. Yeah. Especially if you tune low. You can get away with a lot more dirt. It requires more chops, but it's easier to clean. Which is why, like, some groups will do early season low, so it sounds cleaner. It makes you work for it more. And then, like, they'll crank it up over time as it gets cleaner, and it makes it so that you're more effortless with it. But late. Yeah, there's a high school I taught at that I ended up leaving after teaching there for a few years. And I started teaching at another school. And that new school played the old school at, like, a football game. So I went, and I went back to my previous band, and I was, like, hanging out with some of the drummers. And I was like, your drums don't sound good. Like, when was the last time you tuned them? And they're like, we're supposed to tune them? I was like, yeah, you remember that thing that we would do all the time? The new director did not tune them. They didn't have a percussion person after I left for that first year. So I was like, all right, guys, I'm going to tune your drums again. It's got the same heads that they had on it when I left. But you all need to maintain these things. So then I realized, like, instead of doing the tuning, like, away from students, it would actually be helpful to, like, show them the tuning process. So any student who, like, wanted to learn how to do it, then I'd show them, like, oh, with snares, we do it this way. With tenors, we do it this way. With basses, here's what we're trying to do. So that way, eventually, when I would leave, they would know how to do that. But yeah, I felt bad for them. They sounded terrible. It was like wet cardboard. How it sounded. Oops. I was reading. It screwed me up. My bad. What I was reading is like, oh, you tune the bottom to a C sharp. I was like, that's interesting. Usually they tune it to a D, but then I continued to read more and saw that you said that you were going to change it to a D later. And it just, like, screwed me up because I was focusing on that. A lot of band directors think their drums are bad and they need new ones. Yeah, I agree. They just need the maintenance on it. One is rotated. Oh, that's interesting. Yep. Yep. I had a friend that I went to high school with, and then ended up teaching with at that first school that I was at for a few years. He ended up also going in and getting his doctorate in conducting. Mine's in music ed, so but he also got his doctorate, was what I was trying to say. But he started teaching at a school again in the area, and so I went and helped him out and was just showing him like, yeah, like that you need a new head. This one you just need to tune it. Here, let me do it for you. I'll show you how. It's easy. But yeah, I agree. It is funny how it's like, with just a little bit of tuning, you could sound better. It's just like a brass instrument. Just move that little tuning valve just a little bit. Speaking of, I knew a director who did a clinic, and this high school was like, they sounded terrible, like completely out of tune. And so when they finished playing, he's like, hey, so let's talk about tuning the ensemble and like how to do that. And the person who was teaching them was actually just a volunteer, like a parent who had never played an instrument before. But because the director had left midway through the season, this parent was like, I need to like step up and like help out because I want the kids to be able to continue to play in bands. So like, great, awesome that they did that. This person was a welder. And they're like, well, we did tune. And then I just welded them so that way they would always be in tune. And then it was at that point that the actual like music educator, the person who had taught band, was like, the reason why the tuning valves need to be able to move is because you need to adjust your tuning based off of the temperature and like the humidity and the room you're playing in, etc. So, and while they may have been in tune at that time when you welded them together, they will now forever be out of tune unless you happen to be in that exact same environment where you welded them. So, oops, but we all make mistakes. It makes for a funny story, at least, right? And that reminds me of a sorry, apparently it's story time with Jared. So that reminds me of when I was the coding mentor, I think is what they called it, in the last district that I was teaching in, before I switched over to the nonprofit stuff. Excuse me. So my role was to basically help train the teachers like through professional development to like get them to a better understanding of like how to program. And the reason for that is because like everybody like myself didn't have a background in computer science. So like there was a PE teacher, there's a science teacher, a language arts teacher, somebody who was teaching technology but had never coded before, and then myself, music educator, for the background. And so for all of us, we were like needed to learn the content knowledge to be able to effectively teach kindergarten through 8th grade in this particular district, at the level that they were at and even beyond, so we can know where the students were going. And I was trying to do that in the like 1 to 3 hours we would have like on Wednesdays for the professional development. And it just was not enough time for the teachers to be able to learn what they needed to be able to teach effectively, especially at the middle school level. With the JavaScript, the teachers just weren't getting it. So what I was arguing with the district is, hey, we need more time to be able to teach this subject area because they don't know it. And so the person at the district office was like, well, I can teach math teachers how to teach math, and they've never done that before. So you don't need extra time. You just need to get good, Jared. And I was like, okay, well, your math teachers from sometimes preschool, but usually from kindergarten all the way up until usually 10th, maybe 11th, and sometimes even 12th grade are required to take math every single year. So they've had experience doing that. And then even in college to get their degree as an educator, they need to be able to take X number of math courses to count for their degree to be able to graduate it from it. So while you're saying you're able to teach math teachers how to teach math, they've had at least a decade of learning what math education looks like and what it's like. So what I was trying to say is like, hey, it's kind of like asking students or teachers to be able to teach Chinese when they've never seen Chinese, they've never read Chinese, they've never heard Chinese, they've never spoken Chinese, and you're asking them to do this thing. They need more extra time to be able to learn the language to be able to effectively teach it. And this lady in the district office was like, I completely disagree with you. It's 100% down to pedagogy, not content knowledge. And I was like, great. So I was a band director before I started teaching coding. So do you think that you would be able to go into my band room and be able to teach the band class when you've never played an instrument in your life? And she's like, yes, maybe not as good as you, but I would be able to teach it because I have good pedagogy, which means like the art of teaching, or the way that you teach, like the different techniques and methods, etc. And I was like, okay, well, we're at a stalemate here because I 1000% disagree with you, but you're basically above me on the pay grade. So she got what she wanted. What was hilarious, though, is because I was a coding mentor, I had to go and like do observations of like the other teachers teaching in their schools. And so on one of the days, the district did not have enough substitute teachers. So that lady at the district office became my substitute teacher while I was around the district and was like observing the other schools. And so when I came back the next day, the lady who claimed that she could teach anything because she knew how to teach and she didn't need to know what to teach, when I asked the students, so what did she teach you? And they're like, what do you mean? She just sat at your desk the entire time and just said, just work on your projects. Wait a minute. I thought you could teach anything. So yeah, it made me laugh. I laughed pretty hard when I found that out. What drum corps has the beefiest music, in my opinion? Ooh, that changes every year. But consistently speaking and generally speaking, it's usually like your top 5 groups. So it's usually like Bluecoats, Boston, and Blue Devils and Vanguard. They'll consistently have some seriously beefy music, but that being said, there are many instances where over the years, like Impulse or Seattle Cascades or whatever has had like really beefy books because like the instructor is like really trying to push the group, and it doesn't sound as clean as what like the top 5 groups might play, but in terms of difficulty, it's just as difficult and sometimes more difficult in terms of like pure number of notes on the page for the beefiness. But that depends on like who's teaching and what year it is. But yeah, in general, like the groups in the top 5 will usually have the beefiest stuff, or at least the hardest to play. Whether it's because it's like fast or hard to clean, like add-ins on an HL or whatever. But good question. Anyways, I ranted a bit. Let's finish this. Let's get it up to, we'll finish up to 59, and then I'm going to chop out real quick. But I talked a lot today. Sorry. Early? So better overall, but we'll see as like over the next like couple of streams as I try and speed this up, just again 1 click at a time. We'll see what happens with that left. Make sure it doesn't flatten out. Make sure the thumb doesn't add too much pressure. More reps. Dancing helps. Last fret. Actually, let's go fast. We'll chop out with this exercise. We'll just spend the whole day playing one exercise, but it'll be good. They give me more data. Okay, so when I come back to this in a couple of pad streams, I'm going to start at 60 and again just go up one click at a time. But for right now, I'm going to chop out, which I like to do the last 10% of my time or so. So I'm going to start off at 120 and I'm going to go up by 10 clicks until my arms burst into flames. And that just gives me some data for some more things to continue to refine when I practice this again in a couple of days. Because tomorrow's Limb Independence. Yes, I already feel it. I already feel that big difference in the left, how my thumb, like where the contact point is. So it's moving more from flat, which is what I want, to more towards the tip, which is what I don't want. So I can already feel it just like doing that jump up in the speed. So let's continue to refine that. But wait, first we got to chop out. And then we'll work on that on another day. From like a execution standpoint, like it's fine, but it's not ideal. Like it's something that you might not hear, but I can feel the difference in the left versus the right with where the contact point is on it, on that thumb. This is where my stick ended up, as opposed to like where it started, like this. That right hand. The reason why the right hand got progressively worse is because it was just sliding out of my hand. Don't do that. Stop it. A little too relaxed, I think. Today. They need a nap, I think. Good morning, Glenn. Sweet, sweet. Awesome. Oh, I almost lost it again. My stick almost fell out of my hands. Whew. That right hand, it keeps sliding. Glim, I watched the Aimachi, what year is that, 2013 or whatever, the ninja show, where they didn't march. That was super cool. Like when the tenors were like standing on the drums and like playing underneath it. Well, not traditional, but yeah, thanks for the recommendation on that. Super innovative. I will say that I was laughing pretty hard at that, the intro to that show, and I even showed it to my wife because I'm sure he was trying his best, but the announcer just totally butchered the I don't even, I don't want to call it, but the attempt at the Japanese, it was quite entertaining. Like trying to figure out, oh, he's trying to say yokoso. I was laughing so hard at it. But I mean, you know, he had the enthusiasm. Just the execution wasn't there. And then I also watched the Broken City, that marching vlogs that you were talking about. Super cool double stop exercise. You're totally right about the amount of exposure that they had with just those like giant like isolated hits in between the eighths. Like, woo, that's bold. So GG's to them. That's a seriously difficult exercise to, like, you gotta have a lot of confidence in that placement. Like a tenor player, all one height. Sorry. No offense, Tyler. Also, Glim, I decided, I was like looking to see when to schedule those like 6 shopping sprees for release, but I was like, let me just wait the 2 weeks until that resolution with the copyright strike happens. Once that gets resolved, then I can do it. Do you think at the point the tempo gets fast enough that you're gonna work against yourself? What do you mean? Elaborate. There's a couple ways that I can interpret that, and I'm trying to see what you mean with it. What I'm doing right now, in case you missed like the first part of it. So when I started this stream, like an hour ago, we warmed up, stretch and massage, and then when I was working on it, so I started at 40, and I was just going up one click at a time, and so that was the technique work that I was like actually doing to try and practice and improve. But right now, at the end of these streams, I do like the last 10% of the time just chopping out. And so what I'm actually doing right now is just giving myself data for like what is falling apart when I play it too fast. So this is not what I'd recommend doing, especially because the sticks I'm using are the Hardeman hammers. So these are like the super heavy sticks. So they're good for chops, but you wouldn't actually perform with them. So what I'm about to play at 180 is not going to sound good. So this is, yeah, my technique is going to fall apart, but it gives me the data for what to work on. So like the thing that I was working on today was not flattening the left hand and trying to prevent the left thumb from doing that as opposed to staying flat. But we'll see when I play this at 180 if that's still the consistent issue, if there's something else to work on, if that makes sense. But yeah, unsure what your question is with it. So if you want to elaborate, go for it. Can you schedule them further out? Yeah. So Mori and the 07, it's part of the same organization. So it's just like, let me just like, let's see what the resolution is with it. When you'll do odd things without thinking about it. Yeah. So yeah, when you get faster, the technique does start to break down. So like when I come back to this in a couple of days for the pad work, like tomorrow's going to be on the drum kit. What I'm going to end up doing is I'm just going to pick up where I left off. So I'll start at 60 and I'm just going to go one click at a time. So this might take like 3 or 4 days just going through it before I actually get to like the speeds that I want to be able to play this at. But through that like extended process of just going one click at a time, then it can help you refine your technique. I'll have to do it more than just like a few days of this, but yeah, let's see how this goes. I might not even be able to play the first measure. Yep, too slow. Whew, my arms are on fire. I'll continue to work on it. So it's still that, and then the wrist break just like went out the window for playing it faster. We'll continue to refine that. Now this is just one of over 1,000 grid variations that you can actually find. If you go to my home tab here, This is where there's literally thousands, plural, of free play alongs. So there's grid variations here, but there's also above this chop stuff. So like what Glim and I were talking about for Glim's on Twitch. The shopping sprees. There's some cool shopping sprees in there. But this is where I was practicing. You have to click on the header and it shows you all the different grid variations in here. Otherwise, you won't see all the playlists inside of there, but there's over 1,000 of them. Tomorrow, I'm going to practice limb independence, and I'm not good at that yet, so continue to refine it. There's over 500 marching bass stuff. There's some scores and ensembles for cadences. There's sight reading exercises. There's almost 500 technique exercises. Again, click on the headers to actually show it to you. And then there's over 19 hours of me responding to different Q&A on all these different drumming streams. And then there's this one, the drumming tips one. Under the drumming lessons, this is where it's all scripted lessons on one specific thing, like how to hold traditional grip or what is touch. I think that video comes out in like 3 or 4 weeks, etc. So stay tuned for lots of free content. Every day is a brand new play along. And every Friday is a new drumming tip, and every Monday is a new drumming lesson. So new content daily, sometimes multiple videos. So stay tuned for more. If you enjoy this content, just share it with somebody else. If you don't enjoy the content, share it with an enemy. And I'm actually going to call it here. I went a little long today. Usually try and do about an hour. But I'm going to get ready for Fez, which is a game I haven't played in like a decade. So that game is a really unique 2D, 3D hybrid. They call it like 2.5D. You'll see. You can swap between the two different perspectives. It's super neat. I don't want to give much more away than that, but I've forgotten all the puzzles because I played it forever ago. So stay tuned. Yeah. Good questions today in the chats and good questions in the comments. I do reply to the comments either with text or I'll just be like, hey, check out this morning's stream. I answered your question there. If I need to like demonstrate how to do something, like with the question about like sticks in, sticks out, it's easier to demonstrate it than to type it out. But I'm rambling. I hope you all have a good rest of your day. But goodbye.